Have you ever noticed how fragile the first hour of your morning can be? One small choice, hitting the snooze button, checking your phone, or diving into the flood of emails and social media, and suddenly your day feels like it's no longer yours. The sun may have just risen, but mentally you're already chasing after the world, reacting to everything except your own needs. That's the trap most of us fall into without even realizing it. The Stoics had a name for what we've lost in those moments: inner discipline, and they treated it as one of the highest forms of strength. But here's the truth. Inner discipline isn't about becoming a machine or suppressing emotions. It's about taking command of your thoughts, managing your emotions, and refusing to let your life be dictated by impulse or habit. It's about choosing your direction before the world chooses it for you. I like to think of every morning as a battlefield, not a war against emails, deadlines, or the endless noise outside, but a battle with the most cunning and unpredictable opponent you'll ever face. Yourself, the self that craves comfort, that gets distracted, that reacts without thinking. And here's the twist. The victory isn't about conquering the day, it's about mastering the mind that will live it. Imagine if every morning you stepped onto that battlefield fully awake, steady, and unshaken. Imagine making choices based on intention rather than reaction. Your productivity would rise, sure, but so would something far more valuable: your peace of mind. And when you move through your day with that kind of clarity, you become unshakable. This is where Stoic philosophy offers us a set of tools, not abstract theories. The Stoics believe that the quality of your life depends on the quality of your mind, and the morning is your greatest opportunity to set that standard. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They didn't depend on motivation to appear like magic. They prepared, they acted, and they trained their minds to meet the day as it was, not as they wished it would be. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 13 powerful lessons that will help you take back your mornings. 13 simple, practical, and deeply Stoic practices that anyone can apply, not in some distant, idealized future, but starting tomorrow morning. Some of them will take only a few minutes. Some will challenge the way you've been living for years. But all of them are designed to help you build a steady mind, a stronger spirit, and a life that begins on your terms. So as you listen, I want you to picture your own mornings. Where does chaos creep in? Where do you lose control? And what would change if you began each day with intention, discipline, and the unshakable calm of someone who has already chosen how they will live? Because the first hour of your day can either be the strongest foundation you've ever built, or the first crack that lets the whole structure fall apart. And which it will be is entirely up to you. Lesson 1. Amor fati, love your fate. Most of us want our mornings to go perfectly. We want the coffee to be hot, the weather to be nice, the commute to be smooth. But life rarely asks for our permission before throwing a wrench in our plans. The Stoics had a profound response to this reality, and they called it amor fati, the love of fate. Not just accepting what happens, but actually learning to love it, to see it as something necessary for your growth. Let me give you a picture. One Tuesday morning, Emily was driving to work when she felt the car jerk. A flat tire. She could have slammed her hands on the wheel, cursed her luck, and started the day in frustration. But instead, she pulled over, took a deep breath, and decided to walk to the nearest bus stop. The air was crisp, the sky was still painted with sunrise, and she found herself noticing the quiet streets and the rhythm of her own footsteps. What could have been a morning ruined by anger turned into an unexpected moment of peace. That's the power of amor fati. It's easy to love the good days, the smooth mornings, the times when everything works in your favor. The challenge is to love the interruptions, the delays, and the inconveniences. Why? Because they are as much a part of life's design as the moments of ease. The Stoics believe that every event, good or bad, is woven into the necessary fabric of the universe. By resisting reality, you waste energy. By embracing it, you transform it into strength. Now, this doesn't mean pretending to enjoy something you truly dislike. It means stepping back and asking, how can I use this? A delayed train can become 10 extra minutes to read. A rainy morning can become a reason to slow down and drive more mindfully. Even a disagreement with a colleague can become a chance to practice patience and clarity. Marcus Aurelius didn't write about amor fati directly, but his reflections are filled with its spirit. Every obstacle in his eyes was an opportunity to live out a virtue, to be calm in the face of chaos, generous in the face of loss, steady in the face of change. When you start to see life this way, you stop demanding that the world fit your preferences and start shaping yourself to meet the world as it is. Here's a thought for tomorrow morning. When something doesn't go the way you wanted, instead of asking, why me? Try saying, good, this is for me. Not in a sarcastic way, but with genuine curiosity. What can this teach me? How can this help me grow? Amor fati isn't just a mindset for rare, life-changing events. It's a daily practice. A spilled coffee, a traffic jam, a sudden change in plans. Each one is a small test. And each time you pass that test, you build resilience. You strengthen the part of yourself that cannot be shaken by weather, circumstance, or chance. So tomorrow, remind yourself, whatever comes, I choose to meet it with acceptance and even love. Because fate isn't always here to please me. Sometimes it's here to prepare me. And that, in the eyes of the Stoics, is the very heart of a strong and steady mind. Lesson 2. Read and reflect on a Stoic quote. There's a strange power in a few well-chosen words. Sometimes just one sentence can shift the way you see the world, quiet a restless mind, or remind you of something you've known all along but somehow forgotten. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they wrote not to impress but to guide. Their words were meant to be carried into daily life, like a compass in your pocket. That's why each morning I suggest you spend just 3 minutes with a single Stoic quote, not scrolling through dozens of them on a screen, but slowing down, choosing one, and letting it speak to you. Then take a pen and write down what it stirs in your mind. This isn't about being poetic or clever. It's about noticing where those words meet your own life. I think of Daniel, a manager at a busy marketing firm. One morning before heading into a week filled with back-to-back meetings, he opened his small notebook to a quote from Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That day, during a tense meeting, a colleague made a dismissive remark about his work. Daniel felt the first wave of irritation, that familiar urge to defend himself. But then the quote came back to him. His mind was his. Their opinion wasn't. Instead of snapping back, he took a breath, asked a clarifying question, and steered the conversation forward. That moment wasn't just a professional win. It was proof that reflection can turn philosophy into action. When you read a quote slowly and give it your full attention, you're doing more than absorbing words. You're training your mind to pause before reacting, to consider before deciding. It's like tuning an instrument before you play. You're aligning yourself with the sound you want to carry through your day. And just as an athlete warms up their body, a Stoic warms up their mind with these daily reminders of what truly matters. The key is consistency. Some mornings the words will feel distant or abstract. Other mornings they'll land so deeply that you'll carry them into every interaction. Both outcomes are valuable. The first teaches patience with yourself. The second shows the immediate power of a prepared mind. And over time, these reflections become a quiet armor against the chaos of the world. Here's how to start. Keep a small notebook or digital note dedicated only to Stoic quotes. Each morning, write down one that speaks to you. Maybe it's about patience, courage, or the brevity of life. Then jot down 1 or 2 sentences about what it means for you today. You don't need paragraphs. Even a single clear thought is enough. What matters is that you've bridged the gap between ancient wisdom and your present reality. Because a quote is only as powerful as what you do with it. You can read 100 of them and still live on autopilot. Or you can read just one, truly reflect, and change the way you meet the next challenge. The Stoics didn't aim to collect beautiful words. They aimed to live them. And in 3 quiet minutes each morning, you can do the same. Lesson 3. Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Most people start their mornings hoping for the best. They picture the meeting going smoothly, the traffic being light, and every detail falling into place. But life rarely unfolds exactly as planned. The Stoics, wise as they were, didn't waste energy wishing for perfect days. Instead, they practiced premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, a mental exercise of imagining what could go wrong, not to invite misfortune, but to prepare for it. Think of Sarah, a project manager about to deliver an important presentation to a room full of executives. The night before, she didn't just rehearse her slides. She imagined the projector failing. She pictured someone interrupting with a tough question. She even thought about the possibility of the meeting starting late and cutting her time in half. Then she prepared. She printed handouts. She rehearsed her answers. And she made sure her opening could still make an impact even if she had to rush. When the actual meeting came, the projector did glitch. But Sarah didn't panic. She simply handed out the printouts, kept her voice steady, and carried on. What could have been a disaster became a quiet display of competence. That's the essence of premeditatio malorum. It's not pessimism. It's readiness. By picturing the obstacles before they arrive, you strip them of their power to surprise you. You give yourself the advantage of walking into the day already steady, already expecting that not everything will go according to plan. And when that's your mindset, nothing can truly catch you off guard. Modern psychology has a name for this too: mental rehearsal. Athletes use it before big games, visualizing setbacks and how they'll respond. Pilots train for emergency situations they hope will never happen. Firefighters run drills not because they want to fire, but because they know it will come eventually. The Stoics applied the same principle to everyday life. Here's how you can do it tomorrow morning. Before diving into your day, take 3 minutes to ask yourself, what could throw me off today? Maybe it's a late train, an impatient customer, an unexpected phone call. Picture it clearly, then decide in advance how you'll respond, calmly, deliberately, in line with the kind of person you want to be. This simple exercise shifts your mind from reaction mode to preparation mode. I've tried this myself on mornings when my schedule is stacked tight. I'll imagine a meeting getting canceled, a file going missing, or a delay that pushes everything back. Sometimes those things happen, sometimes they don't. But every time I feel less rattled, because I've already lived that moment in my mind and chosen my response. The Stoics understood that luck favors the prepared, not because preparation controls fate, but because it controls you. And that is where true power lies. So tomorrow, don't just prepare for the best. Prepare for the bumps, the delays, the unexpected turns. Not to live in fear of them, but to greet them with the calm assurance of someone who's already been there in their mind and knows exactly what to do when they arrive. Lesson 3. Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Most people start their mornings hoping for the best. They picture the meeting going smoothly, the traffic being light, and every detail falling into place. But life rarely unfolds exactly as planned. The Stoics, wise as they were, didn't waste energy wishing for perfect days. Instead, they practiced premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, a mental exercise of imagining what could go wrong, not to invite misfortune, but to prepare for it. Think of Sarah, a project manager about to deliver an important presentation to a room full of executives. The night before, she didn't just rehearse her slides. She imagined the projector failing. She pictured someone interrupting with a tough question. She even thought about the possibility of the meeting starting late and cutting her time in half. Then she prepared. She printed handouts. She rehearsed her answers, and she made sure her opening could still make an impact even if she had to rush. When the actual meeting came, the projector did glitch. But Sarah didn't panic. She simply handed out the printouts, kept her voice steady, and carried on. What could have been a disaster became a quiet display of competence. That's the essence of premeditatio malorum. It's not pessimism, it's readiness. By picturing the obstacles before they arrive, you strip them of their power to surprise you. You give yourself the advantage of walking into the day already steady, already expecting that not everything will go according to plan. And when that's your mindset, nothing can truly catch you off guard. Modern psychology has a name for this too: mental rehearsal. Athletes use it before big games, visualizing setbacks and how they'll respond. Pilots train for emergency situations they hope will never happen. Firefighters run drills not because they want a fire, but because they know it will come eventually. The Stoics applied the same principle to everyday life. Here's how you can do it tomorrow morning. Before diving into your day, take 3 minutes to ask yourself, what could throw me off today? Maybe it's a late train, an impatient customer, an unexpected phone call. Picture it clearly. Then decide in advance how you'll respond, calmly, deliberately, in line with the kind of person you want to be. This simple exercise shifts your mind from reaction mode to preparation mode. I've tried this myself on mornings when my schedule is stacked tight. I'll imagine a meeting getting canceled, a file going missing, or a delay that pushes everything back. Sometimes those things happen, sometimes they don't. But every time I feel less rattled because I've already lived that moment in my mind and chosen my response. The Stoics understood that luck favors the prepared, not because preparation controls fate, but because it controls you. And that is where true power lies. So tomorrow, don't just prepare for the best. Prepare for the bumps, the delays, the unexpected turns. Not to live in fear of them, but to greet them with the calm assurance of someone who's already been there in their mind and knows exactly what to do when they arrive. Lesson 4, memento mori, remember that you will die. There's a truth most of us avoid thinking about. And yet, when we face it honestly, it has the power to transform how we live. The Stoics called it memento mori, a Latin phrase meaning, remember that you will die. It's not meant to be morbid. It's not about living in fear. It's about waking up to the reality that our time here is limited, and because of that, every moment matters more than we realize. Mark understood this one morning as he was heading out the door. His day was packed. Meetings, deadlines, and a to-do list that felt endless. But then he remembered a line from Marcus Aurelius. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. He paused, phone in hand, and instead of diving straight into the chaos, he called his mother. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes, but it was warm, real, and left them both smiling. That one choice, guided by memento mori, shifted the tone of his entire day. The point isn't to dwell on death, but to let its certainty sharpen your sense of life. Think about how often we postpone the things that truly matter. Telling someone we love them, starting that project we've been dreaming about, or even just stepping outside to watch the sunrise. We assume we'll have time later, but later is never promised. The Stoics knew that remembering our mortality isn't depressing, it's liberating. It cuts through the noise and reminds us to put our energy into what is real, present, and meaningful. I've found that when I carry this thought into my mornings, I stop wasting the first hour of the day on autopilot. Instead of scrolling through my phone or rushing through routines, I ask myself, if this were my last morning, would I spend it like this? That question alone can change your priorities instantly. Suddenly, calling a friend, writing in your journal, or simply sitting in silence with a cup of coffee becomes not just a task, but a privilege. And here's the thing, you don't have to wait for a dramatic moment to apply memento mori. It can be as small as choosing to listen fully when someone is talking to you, rather than letting your mind wander. It can be leaving a conversation with nothing left unsaid. It can be taking that walk you've been putting off because you're too busy. These aren't grand gestures. They're simple, intentional acts that carry more weight when you realize time is finite. Marcus Aurelius didn't tell us to think about death to scare us. He told us so we could live with more purpose, more urgency, and more gratitude. Because when you truly understand that life is short, you stop letting trivial frustrations consume you. You become less interested in winning arguments and more interested in making memories. So tomorrow morning, before the rush takes over, whisper it to yourself, memento mori, not as a warning, but as a reminder to be here now, to love without delay, to act without waiting for the perfect time, because the perfect time is today, and once it's gone, it never comes back. Lesson 5. Identify the virtue of the day. Every day presents us with countless decisions, big and small, and while we can't predict every challenge we'll face, we can choose the kind of person we want to be as we face them. This is where the Stoics give us a simple but powerful tool. Decide on a single virtue to guide you through the day. One quality, one compass, one lens through which you'll view every situation you encounter. It could be patience, courage, honesty, temperance, kindness, or self-control. The key is to choose it deliberately in the morning before life throws its first test your way. Because without this anchor, we drift, reacting impulsively, letting emotions steer us, and ending the day wondering why we felt off balance. Take Michael, for example. One Monday morning, he decided his virtue for the day would be honesty. Not just avoiding lies, but being transparent, even when it was uncomfortable. That afternoon, he spotted a small error in a financial report he'd submitted. It wasn't likely anyone else would catch it, and fixing it meant admitting his oversight to his boss. In the past, he might have let it slide. But that day, honesty wasn't just a value he agreed with. It was his mission. He walked into his boss's office, explained the mistake, and corrected it. The result? Respect. Trust. And most importantly, Michael left work knowing he had lived in alignment with the standard he'd set for himself that morning. Choosing a virtue each day does something subtle but profound. It turns ordinary moments into training grounds. If you choose patience, then sitting in traffic isn't wasted time. It's a chance to practice. If you choose courage, then speaking up in a meeting isn't just about sharing an idea. It's about living your commitment to boldness. By focusing on one virtue, you make your day less about reacting to the world and more about shaping yourself within it. From my own experience, I've found this habit strips away a lot of mental clutter. On days when I feel scattered or overwhelmed, choosing one guiding principle gives me clarity. It's like having a quiet voice in the back of my mind reminding me, this is who you decided to be today. And that reminder can be the difference between reacting emotionally and responding with intention. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Live as if today were the last day you were granted to live with reason." If it were your last day, would you want it marked by irritation, envy, and distraction? Or by calm courage, quiet honesty, and compassion? You get to decide, and you get to practice starting now. So tomorrow morning, before you dive into emails, traffic, and the endless stream of demands, pause for just a minute. Ask yourself, what virtue will I embody today? Write it down. Keep it in your pocket, on your phone, or in your mind. And then, no matter what the day brings, return to it again and again. Over time, this isn't just about improving your mornings. It's about shaping your character. One day, one virtue at a time. Lesson 6. Act now. One of the greatest traps of modern life is waiting. Waiting for the right mood. Waiting for more motivation. Waiting until things feel right. But here's a truth the Stoics understood well. If you wait for inspiration to act, you'll be waiting for most of your life. Emotions are unpredictable. Action is where your power lives. Take Linda, for example. She'd been telling herself for weeks that she would start exercising again. But every morning she woke up and thought, I'm too tired. I'll start tomorrow. One day she decided to try something different. Instead of debating with herself, she put on her sneakers and stepped outside. No plan, no big expectations, just a 5-minute walk around the block. By the time she got home, her energy was up, her mood had shifted, and she realized something important. The hardest part wasn't the exercise. It was simply starting. This is the essence of Act Now. Don't wait until you feel ready, because readiness is created by action, not the other way around. Marcus Aurelius put it bluntly, at dawn when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. He didn't mean rushing into the day blindly. He meant stepping into it with purpose, even when you don't feel like it. I've experienced this countless times. On days when I didn't feel like writing, I told myself, just open the document and type one sentence. On days when I didn't want to clean, I said, just wash one dish. More often than not, that tiny first step leads to the next and then the next. Neuroscience even backs this up. Taking action triggers dopamine release, which boosts your sense of motivation and momentum. The action comes first. The motivation follows. The beauty of this approach is that it bypasses the mental tug of war. Instead of wrestling with should I or I don't feel like it, you let your body lead and allow your mind to catch up. The Stoics weren't interested in perfect conditions or flawless feelings. They were interested in what you did right here, right now, with the time and resources you had. So tomorrow morning, test yourself. Don't give in to the temptation of later. If you plan to write, open your notebook and write one line saying, if you plan to exercise, put on your shoes and step outside. If you need to make a difficult phone call, dial the number before you can overthink it. The faster you act, the less power hesitation has over you. Acting now doesn't mean rushing through life. It means refusing to let inertia and doubt decide your day for you. When you lead with action, you discover that progress is not built in giant leaps. It's built in small, deliberate steps taken without delay. The Stoics live by this. And if you can make act now a habit, you'll find that your days are no longer stalled by indecision or fear. You'll start moving forward, not someday, not when you feel like it, but now. Because now is the only moment you can actually control. Lesson 7. Practice gratitude and forgiveness. There's a quiet kind of strength that doesn't come from lifting weights or winning arguments. It comes from clearing the weight you carry inside. The Stoics understood that a mind heavy with resentment, bitterness, or constant dissatisfaction is a mind that can't be truly free. And the way to release that weight, two simple but powerful habits: gratitude and forgiveness. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good exercise. It's a mental reset. When you take time to notice what you already have, your health, your loved ones, a safe place to live, even the breath you're taking right now, you shift your focus away from scarcity and toward abundance. Neuroscience confirms what the Stoics already lived. Gratitude lowers stress, calms the nervous system, and actually changes the way your brain perceives challenges. You can't be deeply grateful and angry at the same time. Your mind won't hold both. Thomas, a senior engineer I know, started a simple morning ritual. Every day before opening his laptop, he wrote down 3 things he was grateful for. One morning he wrote, "I'm grateful for my health." Later that day he remembered a lingering misunderstanding with a colleague. In the past, pride might have kept him silent, but that morning's practice had softened his perspective. He opened his email and wrote a short note to clear the air. No long explanations, no defensiveness, just a genuine apology. To his surprise, the colleague replied warmly, and what could have been a cold, tense working relationship became a cooperative one. That's where forgiveness comes in. The Stoics didn't see forgiveness as excusing someone's wrongs. They saw it as choosing not to live chained to them. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. When you forgive, you're not saying what happened was okay. You're simply refusing to let it keep hurting you. Forgiveness can start small. Maybe you forgive the stranger who cut you off in traffic. Maybe you forgive yourself for a mistake you made years ago. It can be silent, just between you and your own heart, or it can be expressed directly if you're ready. The point is to stop giving that hurt the power to dictate your mood, your choices, or your mornings. Here's a way to begin. Tomorrow morning, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Then, if there's someone, or even yourself, you've been holding a grudge against, write down their name in a simple sentence, releasing that resentment. You don't have to send it. You don't even have to tell anyone. But you'll feel the shift, as if you've set down a heavy backpack you've been carrying for miles. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Gratitude and forgiveness make that possible. They don't just clear your mind, they open it. They give you back the energy you've been spending on anger and regret, so you can put it toward building a life you actually want. So each morning, before the day begins to pull you in 100 directions, give yourself this gift. 3 moments of gratitude. 1 act of forgiveness. No cost, no special tools, just a lighter mind and a freer heart. The kind of strength the Stoics valued most. Lesson 8. Train your body as you train your mind. The Stoics believed the mind and body were not separate worlds. They are partners, each shaping the other. You can have the sharpest mind, but if your body is weak, tired, or neglected, your thoughts will eventually suffer. And just as training the mind takes discipline, so does training the body. Rachel, a software designer, understood this after a long stretch of working from home. She noticed her focus fading, her patience thinning, and her energy dropping. One morning, she decided to do something simple. She laced up her sneakers and ran for 10 minutes around the park. It wasn't a marathon. It wasn't about burning calories or chasing a fitness goal. It was about showing up for herself. As she ran, she felt her breath deepen, her muscles warm, and her mind start to clear. By the time she returned home, she was sharper, calmer, and ready to face her workday. That 10-minute run became her daily ritual. The science backs this up. Physical movement triggers the release of endorphins, your body's natural mood boosters. It increases blood flow to the brain, which improves clarity and decision-making. More importantly, it teaches your mind the value of consistency. When you commit to moving your body every day, even for just a few minutes, you're reinforcing the same mental muscle you use to follow through on goals, handle stress, and resist procrastination. The Stoics might not have used treadmills or yoga mats, but they understood that strength and resilience are built in the same way, through small, repeated acts of discipline. A body that has been trained to endure discomfort will help you endure the discomforts of life. Whether it's a brisk walk in the morning, stretching before breakfast, or doing a short workout, you're not just exercising your body. You're proving to yourself that you can do hard things even when you don't feel like it. I've experienced this myself. There are days I don't want to move at all, but when I push past that initial resistance, I always end up in a better state, mentally and physically. It's as if the act of moving forward physically makes it easier to move forward in every other part of life. This isn't about extreme fitness goals or punishing routines. It's about starting where you are. If you can only manage 5 minutes today, start there. If all you do is step outside, breathe deeply, and stretch your arms toward the sky, you've already told your body and your mind, I am in control. I choose to show up. So tomorrow morning, before you sit down at your desk or dive into your to-do list, give yourself that gift of movement, not to chase an image in the mirror, but to build a foundation of strength that supports everything else you do. Because when your body is steady, your mind can be still. And when both are in harmony, you can face the world with a calm, unshakable presence, exactly as the Stoics intended. Lesson 9. Write a morning journal. Every morning offers you a quiet window of truth, a moment before the noise of the world rushes in, when you can sit with your thoughts and take an honest look at yourself. The Stoics believed that self-awareness was the foundation of all progress, and one of the most powerful ways to cultivate it is through a simple habit, writing in a journal. Not as a record of events, but as a tool for self-examination. Anthony, a project manager, started his mornings with 3 questions. First, what did I do well yesterday? Second, Where did I fall short? And third, how can I improve today? One morning, his answer to the second question hit him hard. He had been putting off an important phone call for days, knowing it was holding back a project. But instead of feeling guilty and carrying that weight into the day, he wrote down a clear intention. Make that call today. Later, when the moment came, he followed through. This is the power of a morning journal. It's not about writing pages of poetic reflections or impressing anyone with your words. It's about clarity. When you put your thoughts on paper, you strip away the excuses and see yourself as you are. You face both your victories and your failures without distortion. And once you see them clearly, you can act. The Stoics would often begin and end their days with reflection, using questions like these to shape their actions. By writing them down in the morning, you're not just remembering who you were yesterday, you're designing who you will be today. It's a subtle shift, but it changes everything. Instead of reacting to life as it comes, you set your own course before the first challenge arrives. I've found that the smallest details can make this practice even more powerful. Use the same notebook every day. Keep it in the same place. Let the act of opening it become a cue for your mind to slow down. And don't skip the second question. Where did I fall short? Because that's where the gold is. That's where growth begins. If you only write about what went well, you'll miss the chance to confront the patterns that are quietly holding you back. Some mornings, your answers will be simple. Other mornings, they'll be uncomfortable. But over time, you'll notice something extraordinary. Your list of what went well grows longer, and your list of where I fell short grows shorter. Not because life magically gets easier, but because you've trained yourself to see clearly and take action. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone or open your inbox, give yourself 5 quiet minutes with a pen and paper. Ask yourself those 3 questions, answer them honestly, and then carry those answers with you into the day, letting them guide your choices, because self-awareness is not just knowing who you are, it's deciding every morning who you're going to be. Lesson 10. Begin your morning in silence. The first few minutes of your day set the tone for everything that follows. Yet most of us, without thinking, start our mornings by flooding our senses, checking messages, scrolling through news, or diving into the noise of the world before we've even taken our first real breath. The Stoics would have seen this as a missed opportunity, because the beginning of the day is not meant to be conquered by urgency, but to be claimed by stillness. Sophia understood this. Instead of reaching for her phone, she began a new ritual. She poured herself a cup of coffee, sat by the window, and simply watched as the first light of morning painted the world outside. For 3 to 5 minutes, she let herself be fully present. No music, no screens, no agenda. Just her, the warm cup in her hands, and the quiet unfolding of a new day. What she discovered was profound. Those few minutes calmed her racing thoughts, lowered the tension in her body, and gave her mind the space to breathe before the demands of the world arrived. Science now confirms what the Stoics practiced instinctively. In the first hour after waking, your cortisol levels, the stress hormone, are naturally higher. If you immediately bombard yourself with stimulation and decision-making, you amplify that stress. But if you choose to begin in silence, you allow your nervous system to settle, making room for clarity and intention to take root. This isn't about becoming a monk or adding a complicated routine to your morning. It's about giving yourself the simplest of gifts, a few moments to hear your own thoughts before the world drowns them out. In those quiet minutes, you can notice the small details that remind you life is not just a list of tasks. The way sunlight falls across your desk, the sound of a bird in the distance, the subtle rhythm of your own breathing. I've found that silence in the morning has a multiplier. It doesn't just make the first hour better, it shapes the entire day. You walk into challenges with a calmer presence. You listen more, rush less, and respond instead of reacting. It's as if you've given your mind a steady anchor before stepping into unpredictable waters. You can adapt this in countless ways. Sit outside and feel the morning air. Light a candle and just watch the flame. Close your eyes and simply focus on the sound of your breath. The form doesn't matter. The stillness does. And if your mind wanders, let it. The goal isn't perfect focus, but gentle awareness. So tomorrow morning, before the world knocks on your door, claim those first few minutes as your own. No notifications, no noise, just silence. Because in that silence, you'll remember something vital. Life doesn't just happen to you. You have the power to choose how it begins. Lesson 11. Distinguish what you can and cannot control. One of the most powerful truths the Stoics taught is also one of the hardest to accept. You cannot control everything. In fact, most of what happens in life is outside your hands. Yet we often spend more energy worrying about those things than working on what we can actually change. This constant struggle to control the uncontrollable is like trying to hold back the tide with your bare hands. You end up exhausted, frustrated, and no closer to peace. Jacob learned this lesson the hard way. He had been preparing for an important presentation for weeks, researching data, refining his slides, and practicing until his words flowed naturally. On the day of the event, as he stood backstage, he felt that familiar knot of anxiety. His mind raced with questions. Will they like me? What if someone disagrees? What if I stumble over my words? But then he remembered something his mentor once told him. Your job is to deliver the best you can. Their reaction is not your responsibility. In that moment, Jacob shifted his focus. He stopped trying to control the thoughts and feelings of his audience, something that was never his to control, and instead gave all his attention to the one thing fully in his power, how well he delivered his message. He walked onto the stage with steady confidence, not because he knew everyone would love it, but because he knew he had done everything he could. The rest was beyond him, and that was okay. This mindset is liberating. When you learn to separate what's within your control from what isn't, you stop carrying unnecessary weight. You respond to challenges with clarity instead of panic. You stop wasting time on things you cannot change and start investing your energy where it actually makes a difference. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it simply, some things are up to us and some things are not. Your choices, your actions, your effort, these are yours. The weather, the economy, the opinions of others, these are not. The more quickly you can tell the difference, the less you'll be trapped in cycles of frustration and disappointment. Here's a way to practice. The next time you feel anxious about a situation, pause and ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is yes, act with purpose. If the answer is no, release it. Not because it doesn't matter, but because carrying it serves no one, least of all yourself. Life will never stop throwing uncertainties at you. People will misunderstand you. Plans will change. Outcomes will surprise you. But when you anchor yourself to what you can control, you create a steady ground to stand on, no matter how strong the winds blow. So remember this, Peace isn't found in controlling the world. Peace is found in mastering yourself. And once you live by that truth, you stop being tossed around by every wave and start steering your own ship with calm, steady hands. Lesson 12. Morning emotional check-in. The first moments after you wake up often set the tone for your entire day. Yet most of us rush through them without even noticing how we feel. We grab our phones, check emails, scroll through headlines, and by the time we've taken our first sip of coffee, our minds are already cluttered with other people's noise. But what if, before the world rushes in, you took just 2 quiet minutes to check in with yourself? Olivia learned the value of this small practice on a busy Monday morning. She woke up with her mind already racing. She had an important meeting that afternoon, and her chest felt tight. Normally, she would have ignored it and jumped straight into her morning routine. But that day, she remembered a simple habit she had read about. Pause, notice, and name what you're feeling. She sat on the edge of her bed, feet on the floor, eyes still soft from sleep. She noticed the tension in her shoulders, the shallow rhythm of her breath, the way her thoughts kept circling back to the meeting. She labeled it clearly in her spontaneity, anxiety, and instead of pushing it away, she acknowledged it. Then she took 10 slow, deliberate breaths. With each exhale, her heartbeat steadied. The weight in her chest lifted just enough for her to feel in control again. This is the power of a morning emotional check-in. It's not about forcing yourself to feel positive or pretending everything is fine. It's about self-awareness, knowing where you stand before you take your first step. Just like a skilled sailor checks the wind before setting sail, you check your inner weather before navigating the day ahead. The Stoics spoke of prohairesis, your ability to choose your attitude and response, regardless of circumstance. But you can't choose wisely if you don't first see clearly. By taking 2 minutes to identify whether you feel calm, restless, anxious, or peaceful, you give yourself the space to respond instead of react. You might notice that on some mornings, you wake up with a quiet mind and steady breath. On others, you might feel irritable or heavy for no obvious reason. Both are okay. The point is not to judge yourself, but to recognize what's there, because once you see it, you can work with it. Here's a simple way to try it. The moment you wake up, before reaching for your phone, close your eyes again and scan your body. Notice your breath. Notice any tension in your face, neck, or chest. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Give it a name. Calm, anxious, excited, tired. Then add on one small action to align yourself for the day. It could be taking 10 deep breaths, sipping tea in silence, or writing down a quick intention in your journal. It's a habit so small it might be tempted to skip it. But over time, this morning ritual builds emotional resilience. You start to see patterns in your moods, triggers that throw you off balance, and the practices that bring you back to center. So tomorrow morning, give yourself those 2 minutes. Before the world demands your attention, claim your own. Because the better you know your inner state, the better you can meet whatever the day brings. Not with reaction, but with quiet, steady choice. Lesson 13. Begin the day with a kind act. There's something powerful about starting your day with kindness, not because it makes you look good, but because it sets the tone for how you see the world and how the world sees you. Imagine if the first thing you did each morning wasn't rushing through your to-do list, but planting a small seed of goodness into someone else's day. Ethan discovered this by accident. One chilly morning, on his way to the office, he stopped at his usual coffee shop. As he paid for his latte, he remembered the security guard who always greeted him with a nod but rarely smiled. On impulse, Ethan asked the barista to add another cup to his order. When he handed it to the guard, there was a flicker of surprise, then a genuine smile that seemed to warm the air more than the coffee itself. It took Ethan less than a minute and a few dollars, but the feeling stayed with him all day. That's the thing about kindness. It doesn't have to be grand to be meaningful. In fact, the smallest gestures often carry the most weight. Holding the door open for someone juggling groceries. Letting the person with only 2 items cut ahead in line. Sending a quick text to thank someone for something they did months ago. These moments might seem insignificant, but they ripple outward in ways you'll never fully see. From a Stoic perspective, kindness is not just a moral virtue. It's a way of training the mind to focus on what you can give rather than what you can get. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The fruit of this life is good character and acts for the common good." When you practice kindness first thing in the morning, you anchor yourself in that truth. You remind yourself that your day is not just about your own success or comfort, but about the shared human experience we're all part of. Some people say they'll be kind when they're in the mood or when they have time. But the truth is, kindness works in reverse. The act itself creates the mood. You don't wait to feel generous before giving. You give, and in doing so, you feel generous. It's a feedback loop that shapes not just your morning, but your mindset for the hours ahead. Here's a simple challenge. Tomorrow morning, before you dive into emails or breakfast, decide on one kind act you'll do. It could be leaving an encouraging note for a coworker, offering your seat on the bus, or even greeting a stranger with genuine warmth. Don't overthink it. Let it be small but intentional, and notice how it changes your posture toward the day, how it softens your edges and sharpens your awareness of others. In a world that often rewards speed, competition, and self-interest, starting your day with kindness is an act of quiet rebellion. It says, I have the time to see you, I have the capacity to care. And that single choice, repeated over time, shapes the kind of person you become. So ask yourself, tomorrow morning, what will your first act of kindness be? When you step back and look at these 13 lessons, you realize they're more than just a list of tips. They are a bridge between the small, practical actions you can take every day and the timeless depth of Stoic philosophy. They don't require you to overhaul your life or retreat from the world. Instead, they invite you to live it more deliberately. From a few quiet minutes in the morning to a single act of kindness, each step trains your mind to respond to life with clarity instead of chaos. The beauty of these lessons is that they're not abstract. They're tangible. They can be woven into your routine without demanding more time than you already have. And yet, when practiced daily, they have the power to change the way you carry yourself through the world. Anxiety begins to loosen its grip. A sense of calm becomes your default, not the exception. You start to notice that life feels less like something happening to you and more like something you are actively shaping. The Stoics taught that mastery of the mind is mastery of life. By taking control of your thoughts, by choosing your focus, and by grounding yourself in intentional actions, you create a fortress within, one that no storm, no opinion, and no misfortune can breach. So here's my challenge to you. Take these 13 lessons and commit to them for the next 7 days, not half-heartedly, but with full attention. See how they feel in your life. Notice the small shifts in your mood, your patience, your resilience. And if you can, write down what you discover. If at the end of the week you find even a single change, a calmer mind, a lighter heart, a greater sense of control, you'll know it's working. And when you do, I invite you to keep going. Because the person you become is not the result of one grand decision, but of the small, repeated choices you make every day. The question is, which of these 13 lessons will you start with tomorrow morning?